didn't I?
There's other people's evidence. There's this Neil bloke I told you about, for one, and there's... more than likely there's others.
She spiked my drink. Took photos of me looking stupid. She's got to send them to people.
I know.
People you don't even like. They're just people you've had on your phone for years. So I did this ridiculous thing to her. Yes. And God knows that's not me. That's not what I'm like. I'm not a monster. Never have been.
You were blackmailed. It was provocation. That's mitigating circumstances.
Have you got children?
Oh!
No, I'm sorry.
Shut up!
Sorry. I've not done any negotiating courses. Have you? I'm...
Yeah. Suicide intervention training.
So what should I be saying to you?
Well, you should be telling me that you're here to make sure I get out of this alive.
Yeah, well, I am. I am here for that.
You should use my name a lot.
Okay, John.
You've got to be assertive, reassuring, empathetic and kind. And you've got to listen. You've got to be a good listener. And you have to tell them that even though they can't see a way forward, you can. And now in 24 hours' time, it'll all seem very different to what it might look like now. But you see, it won't. This can only get worse.
How many people have you talked down over the years, John?
17.
Wow.
Never lost one. Not one. One lad jumped before I got there, but apart from him.
So what are you going to do? Mess my record up before I've even started?
And it was perfection. It wasn't higher on my list just because there were two other big shows. Other big shows.
How high on your list was this?
Number 4, but you'll understand why.
I understand. I was just interested.
But it is brilliant, and if you haven't seen it, 2 series available on DVD, 1 on Netflix. Go and search it out. Perfection.
Number 4, which was again on mine and Luke's lists, not something I think Gary enjoyed very much, was Mum. Mum was just a brilliant one. It was Leslie Manville playing Kathy, who was this woman who'd just recently been widowed. The first episode started with her husband's funeral, went throughout the year with her dealing with various days. You had, I think, Valentine's Day was there. Basically 6 points throughout the year where you checked in with Kathy and her family. You had her son, her son's girlfriend, sort of / daughter-in-law, who's brilliantly played by Lisa McGrill's Kelly, who did the Kathy thing that Luke was doing there in the background.
Sorry, Kathy.
Michael, this is Kelly, Jason's girlfriend. Kelly, this is Michael, an old friend of ours.
Oh, yeah, pleased to meet you.
Yeah, and you, yeah. Sorry to hear about your dead friend.
Thanks.
Must be so hard for you, losing your husband. Yeah, it's not been great, but I've had a long time to prepare, so... Yeah. When my dog died, he'd been through chemo and also they cut his leg off and put him on wheels and we were all like, he's bound to die now, and then he got hit by a lorry. OK. Shall I stop talking about my dog? I'm just going to pop to the toilet. Go. Number 1 and number 2. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's literally none of my business what you get up to in there. Don't worry, love.
It was just really well told. Peter Mullen was just brilliant in this. You know,
he was a revelation, wasn't he?
You
really?
think of Peter Mullen as like a sort of threatening Scottish gangster type because that's what he plays in most things. It made me think of his turn in a film called On a Clear Day, where he played this guy who swam the channel, was made redundant from his job and decided to swim the channel. That's the only thing that I can think of him doing another low-key performance in. Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant here. I think his character was called Michael, who was like a friend of her late husband, who had a sort of held a sort of torch for her, had been in love with her for years and years, and was there to sort of help around the house and things like that.
If Dave had done to me what her husband did to her, do you know what? I'd be a mess too. I mean, the things she comes out with, honestly, she thinks she's being subtle, but bloody hell. And I thought I'd be okay today. Because I've been preparing myself, haven't I? I've thought it through. I have. I've thought about it every night since he told me what was going on. And he'd be all, oh, it'll be okay, it'll be fine, don't worry, because I don't think he actually believed he could die, did he? But I was preparing myself, and I was Googling it, and I was reading up on it, because I knew it would end like this. I knew it would. And I've been through all that with my mum and dad, haven't I? Honestly, Michael. Jesus Christ. I miss him so much. Not the Dave that we had in the hospital, but the Dave who used to make me laugh. And if he'd been here today, we'd be hiding in here together, and we'd be laughing about what a pratfall he is. Now look at me. And I know this is ridiculous, and I know I'm being silly, but the hearse is here, and we need to get going, and I cannot find my bloody glasses.
Are they in any way similar to the ones on your head?
And it just, as you say, like with a few of these we said, it just all rang true, and you could just sort of at least identify with one of these characters.
It's the sort of comedy that I just feel like I gravitate towards. I just love the characters, and that's the key here. If you didn't like them or warm to them, then like Gary, it wasn't going to be your sort of thing, because it was just about them. It wasn't about anything massive happening. And Stefan's got a real gift for just picking up on the way people speak and the rhythms of the way people speak. I loved it. What is number three?
Number 3, Luke can lead us through National Treasure. Go.
Okay. Very quickly then, Robbie Coltrane plays the National Treasure of the title. He is 50% of a double act whose life is pretty fine. He's got a game show. He doesn't do comedy so much, but he's still well thought of within the showbiz community. One day, the police come knocking at his door, saying that that a girl has come forward accusing him of sexual abuse years ago, and his whole world falls apart, as you'd imagine it would. Julie Walters plays his wife. Then there's Andrea Riseborough as his sort of out of control, sort of living away from home daughter, who is sort of, I don't know quite how to put it, but she's sort of become distant. She's had a lot of problems with alcohol, had a lot of problems with depression, and it focuses on how the allegations affect his life, his family life, and then it asks the questions to us. Do you believe that this person you're seeing is capable of the things that are being levelled at him?
If I'm guilty, I'd say I was innocent. If I'm innocent, I would say I'm innocent. Don't know what to say.
There's nothing to say.
Not going to be cheap, this, you know that.
Well, we spend whatever it takes to get you off, don't we?
Do we? I know I've not treated you well at times. But you must know, I didn't do this.
I believe you.
This was inevitable. We've been hearing these stories in the news for, well, I've been back 4 years, and certainly 4 years we've seen a lot of these sort of
It did
stories.
really kick off with the Savile thing.
Yeah.
That was towards the end of 2012, wasn't it?
Yeah. So sort of
Not the only
inevitable-
show on our list to reference Savile, of course.
But it's sort of the only inevitable drama to become of it. But what was interesting was that it asked the question to the audience without even really asking it. Because at the beginning, at least I was on his side. And although it was only 4 episodes, by the episode, I think by the end of 2, you were sort of thinking, well, hang on, who is this man?
Because you started to have those flashbacks where you could... Because in the present, you see him as Robbie Coltrane, this sort of cuddly game show host. You know, he's not done as well as his comedy partner played by Tim McInerney. You initially believed him because you saw him presented as the cuddly game show host, and it was only when in episode 2 you started to see him as a younger character who was slightly sleazier than he is when he's Robbie Coltrane that you started to doubt him, and that was my point.
I think that's a fair point, actually. Yeah. The only part of the storyline that made me scratch my head was the kind of pseudo relationship, or that was an implied relationship between his partner and his wife.
Yes, I agree.
That was kind of a bit scratchy-heady.
As true, yeah.
I wonder whether that was just the writer trying to put another layer of...
Although some of that came out in the, when he went on the stand and testified, and you had her sort of wanting him almost to tell the truth to maybe exposed him, but he realised that he was nothing without Robbie Coltrane.
But I tend to agree. I think also the daughter did an excellent job of acting in this. I really believe the strangeness in her and Robbie Coltrane's relationship. And yeah, I think some of the best scenes for me were ones with just those two.
This just in for your entertainment.
Get the latest TV news direct from thecustardtv.com.
My God, you are pure television.
Guaranteed.
Coming in at number 2 is a show that we all really enjoyed, and that being Line of Duty, Series 3. We started with thinking this would be about, as we had in the first series, it was sort of about Lenny James's character with the AC-12 team in the background. Series 2 had Keeley Hawes in the forefront, and again the AC-12 characters kind of a secondary. Series 3, you started with this team with Daniel Mays and Will Mellor and
a fast response team,
and Leanne Best, who were a fast response team. Early on, you saw him kill this guy in cold blood and them cover up for him. Vicky McClure's character then sort of joined their team. And then, like, the shock of that first episode was that Daniel Mays died at the end. And this was the character you thought, this is going to be your main character, got killed off. And we learned as we went on that it was going to be about those core characters played by Vicky McClure, Merton Constant, Craig Parkinson, and Adrian Dunbar, who we followed.
They did do something similar in Series 2, didn't they? Where they killed off one of the midwife characters.
But she was never the lead, was she?
No, sure.
But was the lead.
Absolutely. But they
in all
did
the
have that propensity for that shock thing.
All the promo material for Series 3, all the promo photos were of that Daniel Mays quartet, that sort of, as you say, the fast response units. Yeah, Will Mellor, Archer Ali.
What I think was interesting is because you and I, and Gary to an extent, we live in a different TV world to most. So we see all the press releases, we see all the photos, we see all the previews and stuff, and even the BBC were playing along with this, that this is who we want to present to journalists. This is the show we want to give them. And they knew all along that Daniel Mays was only in the one episode, and that happens so rarely.
Yeah,
that
it's so hard to keep a secret these days like this.
Yeah, but the BBC spoil everything for them. If you know the ins and outs of the way things work, the BBC spoil everything for journalists. Normally, there's normally big things at the side saying, "Don't spoil at the end." But they played along, and for all the best for the show. Also, what I love so much about Series 3 is it rewarded those of us who'd been with the show since 2012 and Lenny James. No, it gave us the end of the story that began in 2012.
Unmasking Cotton as the caddy, and Craig Parkinson was fantastic, as was all of the cast. The ensemble was so good, playing off one another. It was great. I mean, the chemistry, as you say. And I think as well, sort of almost playing into National Treasure a little bit, the storyline that could have been, that was handled so well about the child abuse in the boys' home, with all these sort of big figures in the community, the sort of
which was the storyline that the response team leader guy was looking into, wasn't he?
And as you say, Jimmy Savile referenced here.
Which was very surprising, because this was on the BBC that they referenced that. And they managed to not get away with it, but they managed to do it with tact and diplomacy that meant it was realistic without being sensational.
Patrick Fairbank, some new information has come to light that we'd like to put to you. PC Bindra.
Document 27 is a transcript of a professional tribunal which took place on the 19th of September 1998. In which Oliver Stevens Lloyd recorded he'd submitted a list of names of abusers at Sandsview.
Not this list again. I don't know anything about any list. Where is this new information?
For the tape, I'm showing the interviewee a video capture, item KMF4. Who is shown in item KMF4?
I refuse to take part in any video identification.
You did. which meant we were forced to use a video capture from your previous interview.
And we are legally entitled to use this image because your client was notified that he was going to be questioned regarding an offence, misconduct.